Hey there, folks. Piano Man Steve Lungrin here, founder of the Piano Man Approach online piano courses over at pianomanapproach.com. Thanks for tuning in here. This is just one of my free lessons that I like to put up periodically, usually weekly, right here on my YouTube channel, hoping that I can pass along some information that will be usable and applicable and practical for you to improve your piano playing in real time and enable you to have more fun while you do it. So today the video is called The Simple But Effective Improvising Genius of Elton John, Part 1. The reason I say that is he's got a number of different techniques that I want to explore over the course of time. So I'm just going to focus on them one at a time, and we'll do a Part 2 at some point and a Part 3 and all of that, because as I say, I keep discovering new patterns that he's using. But today's is something that's embodied in a few of his songs really, really well. And it's basically an arpeggio technique that he uses a lot. And I kind of want to show you what he's up to, because I think this is something you can use in lots and lots of music. So we're going to start using, as a model, we're going to be using the One from 1992, okay? Okay, so what's going on here that I want to show you, that it's not the only thing that he uses, but it's something that is very, very common throughout that song, and it's extremely effective, and it's really, really simple. His hands are already on a chord, right? So you start out and he's playing a D chord in the right hand, and he's playing a C bass with his left hand. Okay? A, D, F sharp, right? So it's like D, C, goes to a C chord. Now, his hand is already here, right? And what does he do? He arpeggiates the individual notes of the chord up. It's a C added 9 chord, C, E, G, right? And then an added 9 means the 2, because 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, so he's adding the 9 in. So it's C, D, E, and G. That's the chord. And he's playing it in this full octave chord format, like so. Right? So he's got his thumb and his pinky on the same note, full octave, and playing the chord in between. Well, now he just arpeggiates up. So, and this is like, I saw you dancing down the ocean. See how effective that is? Running fast along the sand. You could literally do only that technique on any chord you're playing throughout the entire song every time there's a gap, and it's going to sound very authentic to that song. So is it the only thing that was going on in the recording or whatever? No, it's not. But it is by far the most common motif that he uses throughout the whole thing. And I'm just going to show you how, if that's all you did, it would still very much sound like the One. Saw you dancing down the ocean, running fast along the sand, spirit born of earth and water, fire flying from your hands, in the instant that you love someone. Do you see how every single gap can be filled by just whatever chord you're on? And this song actually has kind of a sophisticated chord sequence, and most of the chords include either like a suspension or an added 9 or a, maybe like a weird bass note to it. But whatever that chord is, your hand is already there and it's on it, and he's just He's just arpeggiating the notes up, you know, in whatever little gap, whatever space he's got. And it works brilliantly. When you get to the part of this song where where the piano solo is, you could build the whole solo off of just doing that repeatedly and maybe moving your hand to either a different inversion of the chord or just jumping it an octave. Let me give you an example. So an inversion of the chord would be, so if you're here, right? Well, you could do the same thing by playing that D chord here, right? So you could change inversions, or you can play it here and then do the same thing but an octave higher or an octave higher than that. So watch how I'm going to build the whole solo. I'm not even going to try anything rhythmically other than doing that repeatedly, just following the chord progression. Now, you may like that better or worse than what he did. You may think, oh, I've seen you do a cover of the song, Steve, where you did something better than that. That's not the point. The point is, for someone who is trying to work their way into how do I approach the song, this is a building block technique because it transfers to any chord. And the beauty of it is your hand is already there, right? You don't have to think something up and cook something up out of thin air. That's what I love about Elton. He is like an extremely effective but very shrewd improviser. Almost all of his signature licks and fills and things are things that are built on the chords that he's already playing. So he doesn't have to move his hand around and do anything too crazy, but he finds incredibly effective things to do with the chords that he's already on. And we'll talk more about that in other ways that he does that in other videos. But it's been so instructive for me as a player because you can get so much mileage out of where you're already at on the keyboard. So I love how that works out. And even, when you get to the end, the little lick at the end of the song where he's like, what is it that he's doing? It's still built off the same concept. So it's like, it's a B flat chord and he's arpeggiating down. And then he arpeggiates up. And then he goes to a D chord with a B flat bass and he does the same thing. So arpeggiates down, and then arpeggiates back up, and then back down. Then it changes to an E flat chord, and he arpeggiates down again. Now what he does, it's an E flat chord with an added 9. What does that mean? E flat, G, B flat, right? And that F is your added 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay? So now it's E flat. He arpeggiates down. And he goes down here and he starts working his way up that E flat added 9 chord on the arpeggio here. And he goes 1 and again. Right? And then ba 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 ba. Now it's a C minor chord. Arpeggiate down. And then he just kind of does an F major scale. and that's just for the key signature. But the point is, it's still, even that signature lick that he kind of worked out, yeah, he put some thought into that and created a cool sound. But at the same time, it was built off these same riffs that he was doing throughout the whole song. That's where the formation comes. So if you didn't get it down absolutely tight so that you were playing that as a perfect signature, it still sounds pretty legit if all you're doing is following this arpeggiate up, arpeggiate down. Because, so it's like I don't have the whole particular figured out, and yet it works pretty well to just be like... just arpeggiating up and down on the chords, right? That is so effective. And I want to show you some other Elton John songs where he uses that to great effect, okay? You've all heard this one. The difference with this song is that he does this arpeggio thing, but then he also sort of includes, in almost every single one of them, he includes a shift to a suspended chord and then back to a major chord, okay? So he's on a G chord here, right? I can't lie. Instead of just an arpeggio, he'll arpeggiate up. Then he goes to that suspended chord where he raises the 3 up to the 4. So in this case, from B to C, like that. No more of your darkness. And again. So he's incorporating that suspension back down, suspension release, but notice what he's doing around it. Arpeggio up. Arpeggio up. Arpeggio down, right? All my pictures seem to fade to black and white. Arpeggio up. Throw in our little suspension and resolve it. I'm growing tired. Time stands still before me. It just works so beautifully. It's such an effective, simple but effective way to do fills and solos. And when you get, don't let the sun go down on me. There we are, teed right up for you. Though I search myself, it's always someone else I see. Teed right up for you. Is it the only thing you can do? Of course not. Is it the only thing he ever does? Of course not. He's a very improvisational player. So am I. I'm going to do different things at different times. But my point is, it's like it's seamless. It's right there for you anytime you want to use it. Just allow a fragment of your life to want you free. So that's another example going earlier in his career where he was already starting to harness that particular technique. Another great example is from the Lion King soundtrack, The Circle of Life. Just whatever chords you're on, ba 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 ba, arpeggiate up, and you got yourself a great fill. From the day we arrive on the planet, blinking step into the sun, ought to be seen, can never be seen, more to do. The other big song from that show would be, let me see here. There's a calm surrender to the rush of day. Well, what's he doing there? It's the same technique. It's just like the gap is a little different. So instead of going 1, 2, 3, 1 and 2 and 3, which you could do, he's just going da 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 da. But again, it's just an arpeggio on a chord that he's on. There's a calm surrender to the rush of day when the heat of a rolling wind can be turned away. Right? And if you wanted to make it a little busier, you just start that. You just start that a little faster. Da, 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 da. It's there. Like, it's just there for the picking all the time, like in all kinds of songs. So the question is, the next time you're playing any song, it doesn't have to be an Elton John song, can you take that technique and apply it to something? And I don't have time to show you it in 1,000 different songs, but just off the top of my head, if you're playing Let It Be by the Beatles, there's no reason why this couldn't be part of it. When I find myself in times of trouble. Sorry, I can't sing very high right now. Got some issues with my voice. But when I find myself in times of trouble, Mother Mary comes to me, bringing words of wisdom. Let it be, let it be, let it be, let it be, let it be. There I am. So it's just a nice thing to have in your toolbox, right? Works great for ballads. Can work great for anything that's just got a gap that needs to be filled in the lyrics. So learn from Elton. Be efficient. Be efficient. Take the chords you're on. Arpeggiate up. Arpeggiate down. Make it rhythmically interesting. That way you don't have to move your hand. You don't have to do anything super sophisticated, but you can do something highly, highly effective. And that's what I love about him. He has always been my greatest model for improvisation because he's so efficient and yet effective with what he does. So hope that you enjoyed this. I'm going to let that be for right now. And I hope that this is something that you can bring to your piano playing immediately and start improving your experience with the piano. Remember, we want this to be a fun experience, and we want it to be a fulfilling experience. And you want to be able to make choices in the moment. so that you're not locked into having to memorize something exactly a certain way and then playing it like a robot like that. I mean, that's one way to do piano, and that's fine if that's what you prefer. But at the Piano Man approach, what we want is to assemble a toolbox of skills that you can reach into, make choices in the moment, keep the experience fresh without losing the essence of what the experience is, right? So it's like you want to be able to play it a little different every time based on the choices that you make, but you want it to be rooted similarly enough every time so that, you know, nobody loses what the song is, including you. So anyway, please visit us over at pianomanapproach.com. I've got some free stuff there for you that I'd love you to have. And we'd love you to be a part of the community, and you can learn a lot more over there and get your free goodies. And in the meantime, remember my personal mantra. If you're not having fun when you're making music, you're doing it wrong. And I will see you on the next free lesson right here on my YouTube channel. Thanks for tuning in. Thank you, folks. Have a good one.